Hey, Brian from SnakeBytes here. I'm recently back from an amazing trip to Australia, so I figured I'd put together a top 10 list of the coolest things I did when I was there. You're watching SnakeBytes. Of course, one of the things I always have to do when I'm in Australia is field herping. The only problem with that is most of the snakes you can catch can kill you. I was lucky enough to come across this red-bellied black snake. Now, the red-bellied black snake is known for not being as aggressive as some of the other Australian elapids, but when provoked, it can easily bite you. Typically, a bite from these guys is not fatal, but their venom consists of neurotoxin and myotoxin, and certainly will do more than just ruin your day. After handling this guy for a few minutes, I was just happy to put him down and see him crawl away to safety. There's no doubt that Steve Irwin had a tremendous amount of influence on animal lovers around the globe, including myself. So getting to spend the day with his father, Bob Irwin, was certainly going to be one of the highlights of my trip to Australia. No sooner did we pull up to Bob's place, called Camp Chilli, and we hear a scream from Bob's wife, Judy. There was a snake, and they needed us to help catch it. Turns out it was an eastern brown snake. Not only are these one of the most highly venomous snakes on the planet, but they're also some of the most mental snakes to handle. We ran up to the snake, and it was right there in the garden in front of their house. Before we knew it, it had disappeared under the porch. Without even thinking, I got on my hands and knees and went under the porch after it. Before I realized it, I looked in front of me, and there was Bob Irwin, right down on his hands and knees too. This certainly was a memory I'll cherish for the rest of my life.
What network does Brian one day hope to have a show on? A. Discovery Channel, B. History Channel, or C. Travel Channel? Answer with a comment and keep watching to see if you're right.
Camp Chilli was named after Steve's pet croc hunting dog, Chilli, who was shot and killed on a hog hunt years ago. It's 600 acres of amazing land with wildlife everywhere you look. It's pretty incredible that Bob has created these swamps all by himself with some help from some big toys. And after trenching them out, he plants swap grass seed so that the animals have natural habitat to feel comfortable in. He told me it's not uncommon to see 8 to 10 snakes in a day in these swamps. What's truly amazing is that Bob did all these trails, swamps, and animal refuges all on this beautiful property all by himself. I can honestly say, I don't think that most people could do half of what he does, and he's 72 years old. There's no doubt I have a new hero to look up to. Just when I thought I couldn't be more impressed, Bob pulls up to a tree stand 30 feet in the air. He built it 100% by himself just for viewing the gliders that live in the trees all around. As I looked at the construction, I was baffled how he could have done this without anyone's help. This seems like a structure that would take an entire work crew a week to finish. And trust me, standing that far up in the tree, there was some amazing views. I can imagine Bob spending many evenings waiting for those gliders to come out so he could observe what they were doing. With Bob being such a huge legend in wildlife conservation, it was important for me to ask him what advice he would give someone that was asking, and I wasn't disappointed with his answers.
I think the most important thing for any young person coming up that wants to get into any field, actually, you know, it doesn't have to be the animal field, the environmental field, but any field, is they must believe in themselves first. They must love themselves. They must believe in their own abilities, because people will be only too quick to put you down and say that no, Johnny, you can't do this or you can't do that. Well, I'm sorry, but you can. If your passion and your drive is strong enough, you can actually do whatever you want to do.
Bob talked a lot about observation and understanding wildlife. It's a lesson that we all need to learn more of.
It's lovely to get a great education. It's lovely to get to go to university and get the degrees. But for me, the most important thing that I've learned in my lifetime, and it's been fairly long so far, you can tell by the wrinkles, is that when you're in the outback, or wherever you might be, observation is the most important tool that I've had. And I use it today, to this very day. I never ever am out there in the wild without finding something new. And that's what's amazing about nature, is there is always something to learn every day.
There's no doubt that when you think of iconic zoos, you have to think of the Australian Zoo. I've been to other zoos that have had more animals than the Australian Zoo, but I can honestly say I've never been to a zoo where the displays were kept so clean, not to mention the animals' care was second to none. As I walked around, I wondered how they kept the place so beautiful. The croc pen's grass was manicured like a golf course. The trails were clean, and the trees made you feel like you were in the bush where the animals lived. There were some awesome animals at the zoo that weren't Australian, so here's a few African and Asian animals, throwing in a few Aussie mammals as well. No matter what zoo I go to, the thing I'm always the most excited about is their snakes. In this case, a representation of Australian serpents. And it was an incredible one at that, with every snake on display being one of the nicest specimens I've ever seen. I wonder how it was possible for every animal to look so healthy. They obviously take great pride in their animals, and it truly shows. If I had to answer what animal personality had the most impact on the direction I took in life, I would have to say it was Steve Irwin. So to get a chance to see his tribute at the zoo was truly an emotional one. I'm standing here in front of the Steve Irwin tribute, and it's really a touching place to be. You can see where there's tens of thousands of people that have written on shirts and in books about the love that they have for him and what impact that they've had. Here's one that says, "Cranky, we always remember you and support the zoo and your legacy. Strength and courage to your family." I can't tell you how emotional it is standing here just seeing all of this. What animal really says Australia? Of course, it would be kangaroos. And I had a chance to play with one at the zoo. And it's really cool that the Australian Zoo has these super tame kangaroos that are free ranging here, where you can just come in and pet them and feed them and just kind of play with them a little bit. Now this is a red kangaroo, and it's probably only about half size right now, so it's going to get quite a bit larger. And what's amazing about these animals is the strength of their tail. They actually use that to aid in stabilization as well as hopping. I tell you, you wouldn't want to be on the business end of these guys. You can see how feisty they get, but they're really cool animals, and it's a pleasure to get to play with them for a little while.
What are we going to do about this rattlesnake roundup in America? I know Australia has their problems with the environment and with the wonderful creatures we have, as do many places in the world. But one thing that does really upset me is these people that murder snakes just for the fun of it. I just cannot believe that this can carry on in this modern age. So please, answer the question, what can we do?
So there it is. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. What an amazing experience it was down in Australia. I got to meet some incredible people and play with some really cool animals. And as always, I was tweeting and Facebooking pictures. So make sure to follow me over on Facebook and Twitter at SnakeBytesTV. Until next time, you've been watching Snake Bites.
What network does Brian one day hope to have a show on? Well, if you guessed C, Travel Channel, you are absolutely right. Nice job.
This was an animal that when I first saw it, I completely freaked out. I didn't even know what to say about this animal, but take a look at this beautiful girl. Now let me tell you the backstory on her. She's part of the gold and ocelot gene. When she hatched out, she was a little bit lighter, but nothing really incredible until she hit about 2 years old and she slowly shed her pigment out.